Okay, we're going to talk about a topic that is one of the most important topics to all couples. This is the the key to safety, the key to trust. It's the key to all the intimacy that you want to unlock inside of your relationship. And it's a tough one. This topic is really probably one of the toughest ones to manage inside of a relationship. See, what we're going to manage with this topic, and I'm going to tell you what the topic is in just a second. What we're managing is our responses to the world. We're managing our beliefs about the world by allowing our partner, our lover, our spouse, the person we're communicating with, to have their own set of beliefs, their own set of opinions, their own set of understandings about how the world works. If we can be that non-judgmental, that we can allow another person to have a different view of the world and really listen, that's pure intimacy. That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, we have all kinds of issues. We have people that lie. We have narcissistic people that gaslight. We have people that are just not super intelligent and they just see things dimly. We also have people that see things so clearly and so excruciatingly sharp that they won't let go of the way they see the world to give you a chance to express yourself. So we've got this standoff that's constantly happening inside of a relationships where it's the whole if you loved me, you would remember things the way I do. If you don't love me, it's because you remember things different and you want to make me look bad or feel bad. And so this couple standoff is huge in many cases. In fact, in the clinical office, one of the first things we attempt to do is teach couples to listen with empathy. Like listen to someone that has a different point of view or has a different recollection of a certain instant, and do so respectfully, do so with compassion, with empathy, and not get caught up in the couple standoff. Now, the couple standoff is when you say something like, you can't see the world that way. You're gaslighting me. You're telling me that my view of the world is incorrect or crazy. So, pure gaslighting is purposely making the other person feel crazy, purposely making the other person feel like their whole worldview is wrong. In most relationships, in fact, I'm going to say in all relationships, if a couple can stand seeing each other view the world different and understand that it's not gaslighting to just have a different opinion, it's not like a negative thing even to have a different opinion. It's an interesting thing, it's an intimate thing, it's a romantic thing to come at the world from different perspectives and then communicate it through to where you have mutual understanding. There's probably not anything more intimate than being understood in your worldview and accepted. And so when your partner disagrees with you, it's really easy to just say they're misinformed or they have a distorted view of the world or a distorted perception of reality. The truth is, we create our reality based upon where we come from. So if I come from this little town in Idaho that was hardworking, was industrious, was they had certain strong opinions about work ethic, and let's say you come from an entrepreneurial family where you make every attempt to work hard at not having to work because you want passive income, and you collide, you're going to have such different worldviews that you can just really think the other one's crazy. That was just a tiny example. Couples come from all kinds of backgrounds. And so the truth is, our values and beliefs create our world. They affect our opinions, they affect our behaviors, and they especially, our history, affects our perspectives in a relationship. And so failing to understand that your partner is entitled to his or her own viewpoint is like literally failing to appreciate your differences. Imagine wanting to be married to a clone of yourself, wanting your spouse to be just a mini you, and how icky that would be. And so during the really difficult times where it's really difficult to see that they have a correct point of view, that's when intimacy and trust can grow if you both manage it through mutual understanding of each other. Each person in a relationship. And so let's say every couple that comes into my office for relationship counseling, every single couple will come in with two unique viewpoints, two unique backgrounds. And how they communicate is generally, because they're coming to marriage counseling, it's generally broken somewhere. It's generally in some kind of um, broken broken process or broken ability to hear each other. And so we have to have some baseline understanding of why are we so different? Why can we both view the same chair and both of us come back with a different opinion about that chair? So partners, people in relationship, all of us will have different contexts of recall. Okay. So if we're in an argument and I'm feeling beat up and you're feeling like I'm just a liar, and we argue and argue and argue, and I feel more and more beat up, and you feel more and more like you're just trying to get me to tell the truth, 10 years later, as we both look back on that argument, I'm going to remember it from a context of you're just an awful person. You're just always like taking my opinion away from me. You don't give me a voice. And you're going to have a recall of that fight a decade ago as you lie and then you hang on to your lie. And I don't understand why you do that. And I'm going to have this memory of like no memory of me lying. I'm just going to remember that you're mean, that you're rude about other people's opinions, and that you're judgy. And you're just going to remember how justified you felt because you don't like to get lied to. Do you see how, like, no matter what I said, like, there maybe have been some things in there to exaggerate a point that you could call a lie, but I'm not remembering that. And there may not have been, there may just have been, you don't believe what I said. You're just going to remember how it felt to, from your perspective, call someone out on lying and not be heard. You're just going to remember like all of the justifications and all of the why you're right. And I'm going to remember why you're judging. Can you see how the memory of that isn't going to be helpful for either of us? So we'll have different psychological vulnerabilities in every instant that we go through. And the longer you're a married person, the more history is going to develop with these um, expectations of what you see the other person doing. And if you're off just a little bit, can you see how over time you get more and more off? So unhappy couples are always fighting about differences of recollection. They're always fighting about how it was, and bringing that into the current situation, and then adding to the pain and the imbalance of what's going on right now. So right now we're fighting, say, as a couple, fighting over um, you never participate in date night. I always have to push you to go on a date. And you're saying you don't have to push me to go on a date. It's just let me participate in the date. I'd love to let you participate in the date. You just never will. Well, you never let me. And you can see how that can go on. Now they're pulling memories from the past, and both of you will go back in the past and scour it for memories to justify your opinion. And so the idea of creating this, what we call memory chauvinism, and literally memory chauvinism is when you can look back and find enough validation that your opinion's always right and it's the only opinion that's right. Then you can, with certain amount of like superhero strength, go at your partner with, you can't be right because I've got all these memories that prove that I'm right. Well, your partner will do the same thing, create this memory chauvinism of, no, I've got all these memories that prove that I'm right. And if you went back, had a video of each memory that you're both bringing forward, you'll realize that you're holding on to strongly held opinion. Now, I know there's those of you out there that'll say to me, no, there is some truth, there's some fact that you can't deny. So it's 115 degrees. He says, that is too hot to go outside. She says, I love going outside and lounging by the pool. 10 years later, they're both arguing over like what was said. And he said, you lie. You said that you love 115 and going outside. And she goes, I didn't say that. And then she says, you said you never like to go outside. And he goes, I didn't say I never like to go outside. Well, what they were doing is talking about different opinions of 115. The only truth is 115 degrees. It's the only truth. There's a thermometer. They both looked at it. It's 115 degrees. He didn't want to go outside in 115 degrees because he was afraid of getting overheated. She loved lounging by a pool because she can jump in the cold water. He would love to jump in the cold water. That makes going outside okay. But all she's remembering is how rude he was about saying, I don't want to go outside. All he's remembering is like she tried to force him to go outside. You see how this memory chauvinism, you can literally forget pieces of the memory that go against what your belief about that instant was. Doesn't make either of you a liar. It just means we're not accurate recallers. And so we have to listen to each other. So if you don't want to be an unhappy couple fighting over instances, you have to listen to each other all the way through, and you have to ask questions. So if you kind of think about the illusion that one person's memory is superior and a superior historical record is wrong. So again, to keep it clear, gaslighting is deliberately causing partners to question reality. Memory recall is not deliberately causing the other person to question reality. It's having a voice in how you perceived and remember reality. And it's interesting to see in how someone recalls reality. It's interesting to see how they viewed a circumstance, if you let it be interesting. So partners will also have different contexts of recall, different temperaments. If I come in hot and I'm already wound up, I'm going to remember that circumstance much different than someone that comes in feeling like it's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay to be like kind of slow things down. We're both going to remember that very different. So remember, different temperaments matter when you recall. The accuracy of recall is most affected, though, by each person's expectations and how important you perceive the instant. So if this person over here really, if my wife thinks that what's going on is super important, like even life course correcting important, and I see it as like, yeah, it's one way or the other, it's not a big deal. We're going to look back on that instant very different. She's going to look back on it as a moment in time that mattered. I'm going to look back on it as a moment in time that I might remember. So can you tell when we're asked to recall that instant, we're going to recall very different points of it. So no matter what, our expectations are going to matter. No matter what, our opinions about it's going to matter. No matter what, our ideas are going to matter. Most important thing that matters to you today as a relationship person, as a person that's in a marriage or the person that's in a loving relationship with another person, most important is to remember the difference between facts and opinions. What the experience was, we're going to have different facts, and then there's going to be opinions about that. There's a person on a mountain bike, red tank top, green shorts, sandals, no helmet, and it's 115 degrees. I can look at that person and say, oh my word, that would be freedom, pure freedom, to be able to just ride out through the desert on 115 degrees, sweat, get a good burn going, and just the hair, the wind in the hair, the freedom of your feet not all bound up with shoes. Oh, I'd love that. My wife can look at it and say, no helmet, unsafe. Can't believe he's out there at the tank top and shorts. And it's like crazy. They don't even, they're Christmas colors too. That's weird because it's middle of summer. Flip-flops, he's going to just tear his feet up. And why doesn't he have a job? We're both seeing the very same experience. The only fact is it's a mountain bike, a guy. It's a red tank top, green shorts, and sandals. Everything else is just our subjective opinion. If we can remember that, we'll remember that both of us get to have a different opinion about it. Now, typically, people will go one way or the other in remembering things. Some remember like certain operational facts, and others will remember the experience. So I might remember of that experience that the experience was freedom. And I'll remember that free feeling, that my word, he just gets to ride, no worries about work. And my wife will remember no helmet, sandals, no protection from the sun, very dangerous, probably should have a job. So she's remembering facts. I'm remembering this visual I got of freedom. When we recall that, we're going to argue because I'm going to say he's free. No, he's not free. He's going to be sunburned. It'll be miserable. Then he's not free. He has to like lay on the couch and be miserable. So as we recall things and as we fight about things, we both have to remember, if we blend our experiences, we can have a beautiful conversation. If we argue about what happened, about what we believe are the facts of our opinion, we're really never going to get anywhere, even if we agree. So I might agree, yeah, he didn't have a helmet. But what it meant to me is wind in the hair, freedom. He didn't have shoes. Toes weren't all bound up in shoes. Wow. You're going to remember pain. See, remembering the experience and how it made me feel versus the data makes a huge difference when we're trying to like get along with each other. And to really pull those together, here's the data. Here's what I believed about the data. Here's what you believed about the data. I can see your point. Very unsafe. Sandals, yeah. Sunburn for sure. No helmet and a crash, head injury, definitely. Can you see my point of like just carefree freedom? Not asking you to call it responsible. I'm just asking you, can you see my point? If we can do that, we can become more romantically involved. So if we have to be convincing the other person that we're the only ones right, all we're going to ever do is fight. So if you really look at the way we remember stuff is literally how we keep ourselves safe. So the way we remember stuff most often is we're remembering it through a lens of what's important to us. So obviously in that case, for my wife, it's important to understand details so that she can like prepare kids or prepare herself for an eventual bike ride. I want to make sure I have a helmet, closed-toed shoes. I want to make sure I'm covered if there's a lot of sun, maybe even avoid 115. I'm thinking, how can I replicate that freedom and be safe? And so we're going to use our memories to like create safety, to create our own experience. Um, and the other side of that is I'm not going to remember any scene very well that I inflicted injury. I'm going to remember your response to my infliction of injury. Or if I say something a little bit rude, what I'm going to remember is your response to it. What you're going to remember is what I said, not your response. See, we're both going to remember a different portion better than the other portion because it's how we like implant safety needs for the future. So if I say, man, you really slept in. And if you say, why are you always putting me down? Why are you always like thinking through this? I have to get up at a certain time. I'm assuming you just want me to make you breakfast. And then I say, why are you always so angry, Judas? All I said was you slept in. And then you say, yeah, you're always saying little remarks like that, little cutting remarks. So as we look back on it a decade later, I'm going to remember how unreasonable you are when you get woke up. And I'm going to remember that, like, my word, I can't even make calm comments. What you're going to remember is I'm always putting you down for sleeping in. I'm always, and so we both have this context of, okay, so I know what not to do. And then she'll think, okay, I know what he puts down. I just know who he is. Instead of putting them together and talking through it of like, okay, so I was a little annoyed that you slept in because last night we had an agreement of what time we wanted to get out the door. And you're thinking, you say, well, I promise you, if we didn't have that fight, we would have left on time because I had it all dialed in my head. If we had that conversation, we could make an agreement. Okay, I won't be any kind of passively worried about you. If we make an agreement, I'll just trust that you'll be on time. Thank you. And I'll trust that if you ask a thing like, or if you make a comment like, you really slept in, that you're not trying to hurt me. You're trying to like check in on, can we be on time still? And so if we both get to that place, we'll never get there if we just create this memory chauvinism of our point has to be right. We'll just argue over what the intent was of the morning. So very often we don't remember the precipitating comments. So if you want to test this, write down, just right now, take a piece of paper and write down the worst thing that your partner did in an argument this last week. Just write that down. I'll give you a minute. Okay, now I want you to take and look at that thing, both of you, that you wrote down, and then think really hard about what you said or did in the moments before that thing was said. So if I say what I remember my spouse saying was that I'm mean and that I'm always pushing and I'm arrogant. That's what I remember. I remember she was just out of control. What if I think really clearly, what I said right before that was something like, Do you think that you could get breakfast done on time? And I had that little tone. I remember that. And I remember, okay, I think I probably just triggered her into thinking I was putting her down. And she's probably tired of feeling that way. And so if I can remember what I did right before, I might even check with my partner, okay, this is what I remember saying right before. What do you remember? And through their eyes, you'll get a really clear picture of what you did that may have precipitated what they did. And now you can see a cycle starting. And it's not like always making yourself the wrong one. It's more like being clear on what is the system? What are we doing with each other? See, these divergent memories of shared experience, this divergent memories means we're starting to go a different direction based upon what we recall. It's generally that we're both right. We just fall into the trap that if you love me, you would remember it how I do. And like literally we create a standoff where we think the other one's like even going so far as thinking they're gaslighting us, helping us question our reality, instead of seeing another point of view may be just as valid. If you understand that your partner's perspective, if your partner's way of seeing the conversation is just as important as yours, and if you get over the thought that they're just lying or that they're just making stuff up, you'll decide that really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're making stuff up. That'll illuminate later. What matters is hearing them out, hearing them all the way through, and then checking the facts together after you both feel understood. You might even together in a calm way, after both of you hearing each other's point of view, look at one of you was data operations driven and one of you was experience driven. And you can see how they blend. You can see how, okay, yeah, I can see how you got that experience from that. It looked unsafe to me, the no helmet, but wind in your hair, how free that must have looked to a guy that's always stuck in an office building, like sitting in a chair working in no outdoor sunlight all day. You can see your point. Do you also see that it's dangerous? Yeah, totally see it's dangerous. So you see, you can be blending them and you can lose the idea the other one's lying. Now, let's say the other one is lying. What if you're getting lied to? What'll illuminate is the lie if you really listen. And they'll come to the truth. They will. And if they never do, and they are actually gaslighting you, then the relationship will end, but it won't end because you're stuck in just being right. It'll end because they lie too much. Does that make sense? So it's not your place to stop them mid-sentence and call them a liar. It's your place to hear them all the way through and let the lie illuminate. So the reason seeing things from other people's perspectives is important is that each of you will bring different strengths and different weaknesses to the table. Each of you will bring different perspectives about the same event. Each of you will bring your own experience and your own data points. Each of you will remember different data points. As we bring these different perspectives together based upon our experiences and realize no one opinion is more valid than the other, then we can find this world that we share together. And think about the emotional intelligence that is required and that is strengthened by being willing to express your data-driven opinion and then leave it on the coffee table and non-judgmentally listen to your partner's, your spouse's data and experience-driven opinion. And imagine how emotionally intelligent that is to be able to just keep yours out of the way so you're not being judgmental. You're being a listener. You're asking good questions. You're helping them illuminate more and more about how they see it. You're understanding them at a deeper level. And imagine how strengthening that can be to your emotional intelligence and how strengthening that can be to the relationship. And when you leave this conversation, you'll have this fulfilling relationship that is like influential for the future. Even future agreements will become romantic because they're opportunities to get to know each other better. And let's say that again, there might be white lies or dark lies. Those will illuminate and those can be eradicated the more safe you feel together. So 4 strategies in doing this. Number 1, learn how to listen. So important to learn how to listen. You have to be able to hear the data and the experience that your partner brings to the table. Break unproductive patterns. Number 2. One unproductive pattern is to cut someone off as soon as you disagree. Nope, that's not what it is. Nope, it wasn't like that. Nope, you're lying. You're seeing it wrong. That's an unproductive pattern. That's just going to drive your spouse into a deeper defensive state. And so if you immediately condemn your partner or ignore your partner, that's an unproductive pattern. Another unproductive pattern is to listen to them because you're supposed to, but then carry on as if you didn't hear them. So I say, you were mad at me last Saturday morning, and I don't even know why. And you say to me, no, 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 I wasn't mad at you last Saturday morning. I was mad at our daughter, and I was just kind of feeling so frustrated, and so I must have had a tone in my voice. And then if my wife carries on as if I was mad at her, like she didn't even hear me explain, that's an unproductive pattern. So we have to allow ourselves to hear and assimilate the information. Try asking, number three, ask questions. Try asking, what are you seeing that I'm not? What have you experienced in your past that led you to see the world this way? And how can I use this argument or conversation as an opportunity to know you deeper and better? Those questions, number three, those questions will help you have the right context as you participate in the conversation, even the argument. So when you become more receptive to your partner's perspective in a relationship, you'll shift the energy to a more honest energy, a more trustworthy energy. You'll lower defenses. Let's say your partner's defense mechanism is to lie to look good. If they feel safe, they'll stop lying to look good. So calling them a liar and cutting them off isn't going to help the lies go away. It's just going to make you look bad and your partner dig deeper. Let's say that you're both telling the truth from a perspective and you don't get shut down. That's a beautiful thing. That's how you won't feel the need to amplify or to exaggerate. You'll feel the need to just share. So number four, after you do that, at those three, put your relationship first. Remember, you're strengthening the connection, the romantic connection. You're strengthening this new dynamic way of trust and building trust by listening, by strengthening the connection through understanding the other person. So there may be certain situations where you find it nearly impossible to listen to them all the way through because you just see it so different. It's going to require you to set your ego aside. It's going to require you to decide that you just want to hear them out, that you want to find out why they see the world the way they do. You want to find out why it feels exaggerated or why it even seems to you like a lie. You want to find out why. You don't want to just call them out and shut them down. This is incredibly difficult. It takes a high, high emotional IQ. But as you do it, you'll strengthen that emotional IQ. You'll strengthen your ego. You'll strengthen your ability to have a massively romantic, intimate relationship. I challenge you to really break those old patterns, break the cycle of calling someone a gaslighter just because they have a different opinion, and learn to really listen. Follow those four strategies, okay? We'll see how it goes, and we've got more on this topic coming in part B later.